Good evening and welcome, Amen, and thank you for joining me. Over this season of reflections, I've thought about the power of love, how its power is different from power that controls and manipulates people or events for self-interest, and how it uses resources to get its own way. Jesus calls on his followers to seek justice and live well by expressing love for God and others and acting with compassion. Yesterday, I thought about our lives as new, tender shoots that can grow in love-filled situations. Sadly, when power isn't used to bring justice and right ways of living, people are like plants in the field, like tender green shoots, like grass sprouting on the roof, scorched before they grow up. God aches and hurts and gets angry when people use power to trample on the poor and vulnerable and oppress those who love good. Do you know what I want? God says, I want justice, oceans of it. I want fairness, rivers of it. That's what I want. It's all I want. And that's from a book called Amos. Jesus told his followers that he came to bring justice and the right ways of living and life. About Jesus, God said, "Take a good look at my servant. I've bathed him with my spirit, my life. He won't brush aside the bruised reed, and he won't disregard the small and insignificant, but he'll steadily and firmly set things right. He won't tire out and quit. He won't be stopped until he's finished his work." Jesus exercises the power of love instead of control. He strives and struggles, but he overcomes. Because behind the cross on which Jesus suffered and died lies an empty tomb from which he rose triumphant. Through the power of love, Jesus grew up before God like a tender shoot, like a root out of dry ground. He was despised and rejected by men, a man of sorrows, familiar with suffering. He carried our pains and all the things wrong with us. He took the punishment that made us whole. He was beaten and tortured. Justice miscarried and he was led off. He died without a thought for his own welfare, beaten bloody for the sins of others. He gave himself as an offering for sin so that he'd see life come out of it. Life, life, and more life. Jesus now gives his Spirit to those who follow him, to help and inspire them to exercise the power of suffering love. I want to bring you a short story by a sister of Carmel, and it's called Uttered by a Reed. Outside the city in a marsh near the river grew a reed. She had lived in the green and yellow marsh all her life, and she was happy. When it rained, the young reed thanked God. She felt clean on the outside and on the inside. Within her, life surged, and she grew strong. When the red sun beat on the marsh, she thanked God too, but not quite as loudly as before. She knew that although it scorched her on the outside and hurt her inside, her roots were digging into rich, dark soil. One day, I'm not sure of the date, the Son of God walked through the marsh. He liked it out there sometimes, away from the whirlpool city. He saw the speckled reed and stopped to look at her. It wasn't that she was particularly beautiful, but the Son of God needed a reed to pipe on, and with a little fixing up she would do. He studied the reed and finally said, "Little reed, I need a pipe to play a melody. Would you let me pluck you by the roots? I can fix you for my purpose, and that may hurt, but I wish to sing a song of love through you." The little reed couldn't believe her ears. She could hardly believe what was happening to her or what the Son of God was saying to her. Finally, she strangely enough said, with no hesitation, "Yes, let it be done." And as the Son of God pulled her by the roots, and it did hurt, she lay in his hand and didn't mind. Even when he took his knife and cut away her throbbing roots, she just cried, "Yes, yes, let it be done." The Son of God whittled her to fit his palm and emptied the clutter in her heart. And when she was hollow, virgin, and empty, the Son of God kissed her with his lips and uttered through her a beautiful song of love. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye for now.